Let's talk to John Rentoul, chief political commentator from The Independent, formerly known as John It's Not a Story Rentoul, but now under the brave new world, I'm sure he won't be saying that anymore. John, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
So, I mean, what did you make of it all? I mean, it was quite an exciting night. We did an overnight show here at Talk while Donald Trump got elected. An incredibly large sort of mandate that he now has to govern not only the United States of America, but the rest of the world, right?
I'm sorry I missed it, Mike, but I decided that there was no point in staying up, certainly for the early part of the night, so I thought I'd get up early the next morning, which was about the right time to...
Yes. Well, I mean, I did 1 to 4 and I went to a hotel for a bit of an hour's sleep, came back for 7 o'clock, and just before I started the 7 o'clock show, Donald Trump was basically declaring victory.
Exactly, and that was... but I mean, you say it was a decisive victory, and it was clear, but it was 52 to 48, the share of the vote.
The magic numbers.
The magic numbers.
But he won everything, though. But he's won
the cursed ratio.
Yeah, but he's won everything. He's, it doesn't need the.
Well, no, he won all the swing states. That is true. But
no, he won everything. He's won the Senate.
I see.
He's going to likely win the House of Representatives. They're still counting that, but they reckon he's going to get it. He won a load of... the Republicans won a load of gubernatorial races. Basically, it was a massive, 2 fingers up to Joe Biden and the left-wing Democrats, and their lurch to the left. In fact, I've heard people in America saying it was actually their Jeremy Corbyn moment.
Well, no, I don't think Kamala Harris is the equivalent of Jeremy Corbyn, but she was...
No, I think she is. I disagree. Candidate. I mean, she was useless. She was a useless candidate. Nobody wanted her in. Loads of Democrats that I know didn't even bother putting an X in the spot. They couldn't bring themselves to vote for Trump. 8 million votes disappeared overnight because people just didn't want to put an X in the spot. She was a weak
candidate, but as I say, 52-48, respectable score. But not enough to keep Donald Trump from coming back to the White House.
Well, as somebody said to me, she joins the ranks of the hallowed forgotten, people like Michael Dukakis, that nobody in this country's ever heard of, and that nobody will ever have heard of Kamala Harris when you ask them about 2 or 3 years down the road. But let's talk about what it means for Britain, because that's why you're here. You're the man that can tell us this, right? Donald Trump will sweep into the White House on January 20th. He's already put a marker down by appointing the first female chief of staff. Nobody's ever done that before in the history of American politics. So apparently, despite the fact he triggers an awful lot of women, he's appointed one. But what's he going to do vis-a-vis the European Union? What's he going to do vis-a-vis Keir Starmer and all of those nasty, horrible people in the Labour government who've been slagging him off for years?
Well, exactly. I suspect he will get his own back.
He will. Well, because I've got a few, just a few sort of samples of what was said, because everybody's been concentrating on David Lammy, which is probably a bit unfair, because Keir Starmer on the 19th of June 2018 said, "Humanity and dignity, 2 words not understood by President Trump. A truly great country treats all people with humanity and respect." Angela Rayner, "I'm so happy to see the back of Donald Trump, but even more so to see Kamala Harris as VP. Ed Miliband, what is it about Sadiq Khan and what he stands for that leads the President of the United States to be tweeting rubbish about him? Oh yes, Trump's a racist bigot who tried to ban Muslims from America and hates anyone who stands up to him." I mean, the list goes on and on. I could give you Wes Streeting, I could give you Lammy, I could give you any number of Labour cabinet ministers who are now going to be sucking up to him because they don't want him to be horrible to them.
Well, that is Donald Trump's victory, isn't it? To get Keir Starmer obsequiously congratulating him on his re-election. I mean, Donald Trump absolutely loves that kind of stuff. But I mean, I personally, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. But the main consequence of his election that I'm worried about is for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people's struggle against Vladimir Putin's aggression, and if he is going to pull the plug on supporting Ukraine, then I think that would be a very, very bad thing.
Well, I don't think it's so much about pulling the plug, but you have to also... But, John, you have to also respect the thoughts and the feelings and the fears of ordinary people, both in this country and in America, who ask questions of their leaders and don't get answers when they say... And I've asked this question to people in politics, and I've said, at what point do we stop giving money to Ukraine? At what point do we continue to funnel money to a country that doesn't appear to be going anywhere, and instead of actually trying to rally for some kind of peace deal? What's wrong with trying to get peace? Why does everybody in the West have to give money to Ukraine so that they can keep fighting?
Well, because we do not want Vladimir Putin to win.
No, but peace. Yeah, but
it's as simple as that. And if you're talking about peace,
hang on. Let's be pragmatic, though, John. Every war ends in a deal, doesn't it?
No,
yes,
not
it
the
does.
Second World War.
Yes, it does.
The Second World War.
The Second World War ended because yeah, every war ends with a deal which is done where normally the victors and the vanquished have to have a conversation, right? Something happens which stops the war. Now, you can say that it was the Hiroshima bomb in the Second World War case. You could say that it was the Russian, front, or you could say that it was Churchill. You could say it was the Battle of Britain, whatever it was. But the point is, at the end of the day, everybody sits down around a table and they sign documents, and the war finishes. Right? That's what happens in almost every situation.
No, there are two different situations. Either one side wins, or there's a deal that stops the fighting without a conclusive victory for one side or the other. And we don't know what the situation is going to be. Well, I mean, you're quite right that it's more likely to end in some kind of deal.
Because it's bound to.
Well, no, because I mean, it's possible that Vladimir Putin could fall.
No, Ukraine are never going to be able to defeat Vladimir Putin. So the only way to defeat Vladimir Putin...
You don't know that?
Yeah, of course I know that. It's been going on for 2 years and it's pretty much a stalemate, right? We've been funneling billions and billions of pounds into Ukraine, giving them billions of pounds worth of weapons, and pretty much all they can do is stand still, right? With Vladimir Putin, who has got the whole of the Russian military complex behind him, you're not going to defeat him unless the West actually goes to war with him. Do you want us to go to war with Putin? Do you want to send British troops into Russia to invade it, to take it over? No, of course you don't.
No. Well, I don't. No, I don't. But what I don't want is for Vladimir Putin to win.
No, but the only way to make him lose is to defeat him by killing people in Russia by the West, by invading Russia, and the West is never going to do that.
Well, maybe. But as long as if Donald Trump just pulls the plug. Then I think that would be disastrous. If you're saying Donald Trump carries on supplying money and at the same time presses for peace negotiations, however humiliating for Ukraine, then that's a different matter. And I think that
But I think you also as a leader of the United States and as a leader of the UK as well, I mean, there are an awful lot of people who are uneasy about the fact that, automatically we seem to be just continuing to hand money to Vladimir Zelensky without really knowing what's going to happen to it.
No, I think you've got a perfectly reasonable point, although it's worth also making the point that British public opinion is very, very strongly supportive of the Ukrainian cause. But that's again. I don't think we should be going to war based on public opinion polls, John. I think what we should be doing is asking questions. And again, we have a situation in government here where very few people ask questions about it. Everybody just goes, "Oh yeah, we must just keep paying money to Ukraine." Well, why? Yeah. And when? And how long for? Does it go on for 10 years, 20 years? How long does it go on? Absolutely legitimate questions.
Yeah, and I think that we should be having that conversation. I think Donald Trump may begin to have those conversations, and that can only be a good thing. And if we can bring the war to an end in whichever way it can be done to stop people dying, surely that's a good aim.
No, I completely agree with that. But remember that it was Donald Trump who was responsible for NATO and the West scuttling from Afghanistan and leaving Afghanistan.
Yes. Well, he decided.
In a terrible state, and that is all his fault. If he does the same,
no, John, you got that wrong. It's entirely his decision that it was a good idea to leave Afghanistan, and he was right to leave Afghanistan because he said there's no point in being there. It's not making any difference. The Taliban are still in charge. But what he was not responsible for was the haphazard and useless way that it was done, and that was Joe Biden. Joe Biden decided to pull out. Yes, he did. Decided to pull out of Afghanistan, leaving behind hundreds of millions of pounds worth of military equipment, high-grade military equipment, and doing it in such a dangerous way that people died.
Yeah, no, but the dangerous decision was taken by Donald Trump to set a deadline, and it had disastrous consequences.
Yeah, but Joe Biden did not have to do what Donald Trump told him to do. He decided to pull out in a way which was entirely irresponsible and disastrous.
No, I wish Joe Biden had reversed Donald Trump's decision.
Why didn't he?
He didn't.
Why didn't he?
Well, because American public opinion was not strongly supportive.
So it was his fault then. So it was his fault then. It was on his watch. He took the decision to follow.
No, Donald Trump took the decisive decision.
No, but there was nothing else that Donald Trump did that Joe Biden followed, was there?
Pass.
No, pass. No, not a story. Anyway, let's talk about what Trump is going to do in terms of trade with the European Union. The European Union already, jumping around, making all sorts of noises about, the end of democracy. Guy Verhofstadt talking about how Trump's dangerous and all the rest of it. Same old rhetoric. They need to grow up a bit in Brussels, don't they?
Well, no. I mean, Donald Trump's rhetoric is dangerous. I mean, if he is going to launch a trade war. Yes, it is.
What's he said?
Are a very bad idea.
No,
Mike,
they're not.
And
I disagree with you.
I'm in favour of free trade.
I disagree with you. Well, you might be in favour. You might be in favour of free trade, but on the other hand, if free trade allows China to dominate the world because they can produce everything cheaper and then flood Western markets with it, that is not free trade. That is monopolistic trade. Yes. No, it's not. It is monopolistic trade. If
are you
Donald Trump,
in favour of free trade or not? Then you're just not making sense, Mike.
Well, yes, I am making sense. Free trade is based on a common market scenario, right, where everybody is playing with the same hymn book and everybody is paying the same money for all the things that they have, right? China is not doing that. China is raping the minerals out of Africa. They're taking everything they need out of the lithium out of Afghanistan, which is another unfortunate legacy of Biden. They are creating the cheapest electric cars in the world and flooding the market with them. They've killed off already the car manufacturing.
Flooding the market with cheap electric cars that people in the West want to buy.
Yes, of course, but that's not the point. The point is that the business of industrial car making in manufacturing in Europe has been killed by China, right? And Donald Trump does not want it to be killed in America. So all he said to them is, look, if you want to build a factory in Mexico and make cars that you sell for $10,000 into America, I'm going to charge you $10,000 as a tariff. So then they're going to cost 20, right? If you build a car factory in Texas, you can sell it for 10 grand. That seems to me to be common sense politics.
That is maybe common sense politics, but it's not free trade, Mike. I
don't really care. What's wrong with protecting your own country?
Which is it then, Mike? Are you a protectionist or are you a free trader?
Why do I have to be one or the other? I'm interested in protecting.
Because those are the choices. You just set out a protectionist policy for America and supported it.
Yes, I think that's right.
I think it's a bad idea. I think it's bad for the world. And I think it makes a very strong.
What makes you think that free trade is a good thing?
Because that is what has made the world so much more prosperous.
No, it's made China more prosperous. It's killed off industrialisation in Britain. Everything is now manufactured in China. We know that because the only thing that we manufacture is financial services now.
Yes, but that's called the division of labour and specialisation.
So you're in favour of slave production of goods in China that we can buy for small. Well, that's what free trade means.
Well, no, that's what you've just redefined.
Are you telling me that they don't have slave trades? Are you telling me they don't have slave workers in China?
I'm all in favour of putting up tariff barriers and regulations against slavery.
Oh, okay. So you're in favour of no free trade with countries that produce cheap goods because they do it on the backs of slave labour.
I'm definitely in favour of that. Yes.
So you're not actually a free tradist at all, then, are you?
Yes, no, you were talking about building factories in Mexico.
Well, that's what the Chinese are doing.
I mean, yeah, but there are no slaves in Mexico as far as.
Oh, really? Have you been to Mexico?
No.
Do you know what the annual salary of Mexicans is?
That's not the definition of slavery.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, the Chinese are very famous for enslaving their workers, as are, in fact, many countries in Asia. If you buy your family's or your son or your daughter a football shirt, which has been sold to you for 100 quid from Chelsea Football Club, it's more than likely been made in the Far East, where it's been made by slave labour. Now, you can say we don't know that, but more than likely, shall we say, if you buy, stuff from these cheap online clothing manufacturers, more than likely the stuff has been stitched together in Southeast Asia by some very, very poor people who don't get paid any money at all.
The best protection against all of that.
However, you like that, but you say that's free trade. I say it's slave labour.
Well, no, I don't. I say free trade with high labour standards is
right.
the way forward.
Okay, so you're happy to block free trade as long as it doesn't suit you, but you want free trade for everybody else.
Yeah, no, I'm in favour of free trade with conditions.
It's the usual hypocritical. No, it's the usual hypocritical Labour position, then, isn't it?
No,
that sounds like it. Anyway, listen, it's been a pleasure, John, as ever. We haven't really got anywhere, but I'm looking forward to the Trump presidency. I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air. I think it's going to have massive effects on Europe and indeed on the UK government. I think Keir Starmer will not stand up to him. I think Keir Starmer will snivel and cry away and try and get a special relationship going with him because he's so desperate not to, that it's probably going to be good news for most of us in Britain, bad news for the government.
See how it's going to be good news for most of us in Britain?
Well, it's going to be good news for us because it's going to clip the wings of Keir Starmer, who thinks he can strut around telling us what he can do and making sure that we're all incredibly woke, whereas now he's going to have to kowtow to Donald Trump and what Trump wants.
But if he imposes tariffs on British exports to the US, which I agree, I don't think he will.
No.
But he has used an awful lot of that kind of rhetoric about putting.
He's never said he's going to put.
He's never said.
Hang on, he's never said he's going to put tariffs on Britain. I don't think he will.
No. I hope not.
No, I hope not as well. Anyway, I look forward to your next purchase of a Chinese electric car built by slaves, and then you can be fully on board with everything that you've said. Thanks very much indeed, John. It's not a story rental. Never disappoints. What a great guy.